It's difficult to know what to do, say, how to act, and when to act while you and your spouse are separated. I'm going to teach you 5 things you can do right now to aid yourself in going through a divorce. Welcome back to Potent Logic, provocative wisdom and guidance for every man. So, my team and I have done some research and we're here to introduce 5 quick things that you can learn, that you can start implementing that will make a huge difference in your marriage. So, even if you're currently separated or on the edge of separation, we've discovered that there are 5 things that you can do to salvage your marriage and bring your spouse back. Don't contact your spouse at all. That's what a lot of people say. If they're gone, they should be missing you. The more they miss you, the more they'll want to see you again. We have discovered that it doesn't work very well. Some people also say you should always contact your spouse, which we've discovered doesn't always work, because you're overwhelming a spouse who already wants out. We discovered smart contact. What exactly does smart contact imply? How can I go about doing that? Number 1. Stop push behaviors. What are push behaviors? Great question. Push behavior stands for the following. Don't plead. First, you don't want to plead, whine, or beg. If your spouse is already wanting out or is walking out the door and you're following them, begging, crying, trying to get them to stay is probably not going to work. When people perceive you to be pleading, begging, or whining, it pushes them away. So don't do it. No unnecessary crying. When you feel like your spouse would stay if they could just see how much you're struggling, maybe they'd contact you again, but that rarely works out. Again, it pushes them out the door because instead of seeing us as strong individuals, they see us as people who have been overcome with emotion, and we can't even control ourselves, and it pushes them away. Don't start fights. You don't want to contact your spouse only to inform them of something they've done wrong. Rant at them about how much you've been hurt. I'm not suggesting you shouldn't safeguard yourself legally, financially, or in any other manner. But what I'm saying is that if you want to salvage your marriage, why would you reach out to your spouse by fighting with them? Your spouse will be further away as a result. Don't hover. Don't hover over them. Don't keep an eye on what they're doing. And don't try to track them. If you've made any progress in your marriage and then they discover that you've been tracking them or attempting to control what they have been doing, they won't trust you anymore. Every one of these push behaviors we discuss, such as pleading, fighting, hovering, and controlling, are things we do because we love our husbands and wives. We want them to return. Unfortunately, the manner we show our affection for them and how wounded we are only serves to push them further away. So the first step is to cease engaging in push behaviors. Number 2. Manage business items together. You want to manage business items collaboratively. I don't mean that you have a business together and manage the finances, employees, and other such things. However, if you do have a business together, this can work in that sense. But what I mean is that you should identify the areas of your marriage and relationship where you will have to continue to discuss certain topics due to the nature of those topics. For example, when tax season arrives, you usually have to do your taxes together or at least communicate about your taxes, mortgages, and other financial matters. Children are wonderful. These are items that do not necessarily contain emotions. When you talk about these things, it's not as if you're trying to talk to your spouse about your marriage. You're discussing issues that you need to discuss with your spouse. That is why children can be great. You should keep your spouse updated on how the kids are doing and any exciting events that have occurred with the kids. Anything that isn't right with the kids, anything like that you want to reach out to your spouse about, when it makes sense to reach out to your spouse. As you manage these items together, your goal is to avoid having negative interactions during this time. So, when you call your spouse, you want to be as strong, calm, and gentle as possible throughout this entire process. And this is the preferred method: calling and speaking with them in person. Text messages can cause a variety of issues. When you're talking to your spouse and they try to fight you, don't fight back. Maintain a cool head. In those interactions, the best you can be. Then, as you have those interactions and your spouse realizes that they can talk to you without it being a total disaster, you can start asking your spouse questions, as long as the questions are not emotional. Hey, how was your day today? For example, how's it going at work? How did you spend your weekend with the kids? Anything like that will not elicit negative reactions from your spouse. Begin there. You want to start with things that are not on equal ground. And then once you're able to have some of those conversations where they're not getting emotional and you're talking about things that are on the surface level, so to speak, this leads to the next step. Number 3, allow your spouse to talk. Allow your spouse to initiate conversations. So, if you're talking about the kids or the mortgage or whatever else, your spouse may start telling you about the problem they're having. Or maybe they start telling you about how much they miss being at home. Or maybe they start telling you about how they feel guilty about something they've done. This is important. When they open up to you about their feelings and emotions, whether you agree with them or not, you need to be their safe place. This is the most important time for you to shine, because your spouse needs to see that you can hear what they have to say. And even if it hurts to hear it, even if you don't agree with it, you can respond to them in a calm, strong, and gentle manner. Now, I'm not suggesting that your spouse starts attacking you and you just stand there and take it. Absolutely not. However, if your spouse begins to open up to you and says, they're having downsizing at work, and I'm really afraid I'll be laid off. I'm not sure what I'm going to do. I'm not sure how I'd be able to keep providing for the kids. So what should I do? It's not the time to say, if you hadn't left in the first place, you wouldn't have to worry about your apartment bill and providing for the kids. And we would have less to worry about. So all you need to do is go home. That's not how you want to respond. Instead, when your spouse opens up, you respond by saying, "Wow, that's a lot. Is there anything I can do to help you while you wait? I'm here to listen." You're not listening to simply repeat what they've said. You're listening to understand. You're paying attention to hear. You spend more time listening than talking. Number 4, respond strong, calm, and gentle. Next, as we've discussed, number 4, you should answer in a strong, calm, and gentle manner. You want to be your spouse's safe haven. Well, my spouse is in a safe place for me. You could think, but if I try to open up to him, or if I try to open up to her, all they do is just bash me. Tell me how they don't want to hear it, or anything along those lines. And that is difficult. And if they're in that scenario, I understand how you feel. However, guess what? You now have the opportunity to choose to be the greater person. You have complete control over how you respond, regardless of the circumstances. I'm not going to lie, this is a lot of work. It necessitates extensive mental preparation. It takes a lot of failures and redoing things. We won't always reply perfectly every time, and that's fine. However, you should make it a point to think before you speak and to ensure that you are responding to your spouse in a way that will save your marriage in the long run. And finally, number 5, take it one day at a time. You should take each day as it comes. Every single day will be unique. Some days will be more enjoyable than others. Your spouse will open up to you more on some days than others, and the next day, they might avoid you. You can feel like you've moved one stride forward and 15 steps backward if they completely ignore you. But I want to motivate you that if you begin filtering your mind through this method, through stopping the push behavior, managing the business and emotional items with your spouse, allowing your spouse to open up to you, responding in a strong, calm, and gentle manner, and taking it one day at a time, you will be the stronger person. You're going to grow into the strongest person you can be. You'll be able to handle more than you ever imagined. And this may one day assist you in reuniting with your husband or wife. And in the end, save your marriage. So that's it for the 5 tips on how to save your marriage. I hope this video gave you insight, and I hope this will help you. As always, it has been a pleasure.